Ladies and gentlemen, we need to begin our meeting today. We have Reverend Blair Beaver of the First Presbyterian Church of Bay Minette here to give our invocation. So if you would, please stand. Everybody's got their hats off. Good. And then Jeb Ball will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Beaver.
Father, thank you. Know truly what we are setting out to accomplish. We have an idea, visions, hints, instructions. We also have talents and abilities and time to work. But only you can see the end of our beginning. Every project, every season, every life, nothing is in vain, for even mistakes and missteps are used for good. Strengthen our confidence in who you have made us to be. Set us free from comparison in order to work together. Bless now this meeting, all those present, as well as the lives of those we will encounter afterwards. Help us to make every moment count. In Christ we pray. Amen.
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 Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Wayne, if you would get us started, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
The first item on the agenda this morning is the adoption of the minutes from the March 2nd, 2021 regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from March the 2nd of 2021 regular meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, under administration items, we have a couple that we need to do separately, so if I could do those first, and then we'll do the balance of the agenda.
Certainly.
The first one we'll do separately is BA3. This is the South Baldwin Healthcare Authority Board appointments, and the staff recommendation is to appoint Mrs. Marge Moore to slot number 1, Mr. Melvin Pettibone, slot number 2, and Mr. Ernie Langham, slot number 3.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve item BA3 as staff has just pointed out.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, the next item we'll do separately is BA8. This is regarding the E911 address change. From our discussion from the work session, based on some of the billing issues and so forth, we're asking for a little more time on the 911 address for the Magnolia landfill, but we do recommend approval of the change for Burns Lake Park and the Baldwin County Animal Shelter.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve BA8 as outlined by staff.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second on item BA8. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the balance of the agenda minus BA3 and BA8 is BA1 through BA10. Staff recommends approval of those items.
I'll make a motion that we approve the balance.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the balance of the BE items. Any comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, next are the budget and purchasing items. We have one item to do separately, Mr. Chairman. That is BE11. This is Resolution 2021-062, Public Building Authority Series 2021 warrants. Staff recommends approval of that item.
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve item BE11.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Unanimous. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we have two items from Emergency Management, BK1 and BK2. Staff recommends approval of those items.
Hang on, Wayne. We need to approve BE1 through BE2.
I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Staff recommends approval of BE1 through BE10.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve BE1 through BE10. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is emergency management items. These are BK1 and BK2. Staff recommends approval of those items.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve item number BK1 and BK2.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on items BK1 and BK2. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next are the environmental management items. Those are BL1 and through BL6. Staff recommends approval of those items.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on items BL1 through BL6. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next are the highway items, BN1 through BN7. Again, staff recommends approval of those items.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the highway items BN1 through BN7. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next are personnel items. We have BQ1 through BQ10. Staff recommends approval of those items.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on personnel items BQ1 through BQ10. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It is unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next we have some planning and zoning items. We have 3 items, BR1, BR2, and BR3. I believe these will take some discussion based on our discussion at the work session. The first item is BR1, and I'm going to ask Mr. Matthew Brown to come forward and discuss that issue. And Mr. Chairman, we do have some speakers that may want to speak as well on this item.
Certainly.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
As we discussed yesterday, there were some questions regarding District 26. There appeared to be, I guess what you would call a Scrivener's error in the text of the statute itself that eliminated or did not have that district listed as one of the districts for which a member was appointed, a regular member to the Board of Adjustments. Just kind of as a refresher, we did have 4 boards of adjustments that were aligned with the 4 commission districts. Last year, an amendment was passed through the legislature that consolidated those into 2. We now have a Board of Adjustments 1 that consists of the Eastern Shore, Central Baldwin, and North Baldwin, and a Board of Adjustments 2, which is South Baldwin. District 26 is in the Eastern Shore area, down in the Point Clear area, and that was the one that was not listed in the statute. After speaking with counsel, we do believe that the intent of the statute is very clear. There is some additional language in there that says every district shall have a representative on the Board of Adjustments. Brad and his folks also did some research on just the constitutionality of requiring that a planning district have representation on the Board of Adjustments. So we feel very comfortable moving forward with adding those District 26 representatives to the board. So there's a lengthy staff recommendation with BR1. And what I'm essentially proposing to do from the floor is add to that staff recommendation the names of the 2 District 26 representatives, and I'll just read them out and then we'll go from there. So in addition to the staff recommendation that's listed, and staff is recommending that the commissioners appoint the following individuals to the Board of Adjustments. Appoint Ms. Mary Shannon Hope as a regular member, Planning District 26 designee, for a pro rata reduced 3-year term, said term commencing on March 16th, 2021 and expiring on March 16, 2023. And appoint Mr. Gary D.E. Callis as an alternate member for a pro rata reduced 3-year term, said term commencing on March 16th, 2021 and expiring on March 16th, 2023. And that concludes that recommendation. I'll just add as a note that both of these individuals were prior members serving on representing District 26 in the previous boards and have served since 2018 and 2019. So these won't be new individuals to the process. That's all I have for BR1.
Okay. Brad, you need to make some comments
No, I don't,
regarding
but
this?
I think as long as y'all agree, which is certainly what Matthew and I recommend, then I would just make a motion on BR1 as stated by Matthew.
I make that motion,
Mr. Chairman, we have some speakers that want to speak to the item first. Should we go to those first before we make a motion?
Certainly. Let's
Okay.
do that. And if the speakers would come to the podium, please.
Yeah, Mr. Alan Chasen?
And we're going to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members members of the commission. I'm Alan Chasen. I'm here because I'm on the board of directors of the Point Clear Property Owners Association, and I think our issue has been resolved. The purpose of us being here was that late last week, the recommendation from the staff was that the District 26 representatives not be appointed because of the way the statute was written. I understand now from Matthew that Mary Shannon Hope has been reappointed, and the alternate member as well, and that's all we were interested in. I mean, if the legislative delegation is going to be asked to amend the statute to put in District 26, that's fine with us. I'm not sure whether District 26 will be put on BOA number 1 or BOA number 2. It seems to me like we probably fit better in the south end of the county. I forget if that's 1 or 2. I think that's 2. But again, as long as you appoint Mary Shannon to one board or the other, we don't have any objection.
Certainly. And I believe it is in Board 2 that 26 would be involved.
Let Matthew talk.
All right.
It's 1 right now, if I'm not mistaken.
1.
It is going to be on Board of Adjustments number 1.
Right now.
Okay.
Because they're on the eastern shore area.
Right.
But that's North Baldwin.
It does include North, Central, and the Eastern Shore as set forth in the statute.
Went from 4 to 2, and, all right.
Y'all going to be covered anyway, Alan.
Oh, yeah, you go, and you're welcome to come and share your thoughts.
We just want a voice on one board or the other.
Yes, sir.
And we want you to have one.
Yeah.
We sure do. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I had made the motion to approve item BR1 as outlined by staff with the names added on there, as Matthew stated.
And I'll second that.
We've got a motion and a second on this particular item. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. 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 It is unanimous. Yes, sir, Matthew.
The second items are BR2 and BR3. BR2 is appointing members to the second Board of Adjustments. There's no changes or modifications there. I do want to just add for clarification, Cliff McCollum spoke with the, I'm going to say it wrong, but the Legislative Reference Service folks yesterday, I think the term is, and had a good conversation with them about this, and they're looking into see if it has to go through a full amendment process for that District 1 clarification in the statute versus some type of administrative change to clarify that error. So just wanted to update you on that.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, if there happens to be other districts that come in, because I know we got some up, does it not include them the way what you're saying?
Yeah, there is a process for adding new districts that didn't exist at the time the statute was passed.
Okay.
So the only oddity was that this one existed prior to the
Gotcha.
statute.
Okay.
So let me ask a question. So the new ones will be based on geography? In other words, where they are relative
Yes, sir.
being in number 1 or number 2? Is that what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
hearing?
Yeah, that
Which makes
if as new ones pop up after that statute, the decision will be made here where they go.
All right. Very good.
And we actually have a District 19 individual in the room who just wanted to kind of come and learn about the process. And we've let them know that once the commission passes the ordinance for District 19, that at that point we'll also be appointing members to the Board of Adjustments for District 19.
Okay.
So our next item, BR2, is for the Board of Adjustments number 2, and there are no changes to that recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve item number BR2.
Got a motion and a second on item BR2. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Unanimous. Matthew.
And Commission number 3, BR3, is various resignations, folks who have moved away, are no longer able to participate in the Boards of Adjustments, and that's just officially recognizing their service and accepting those resignations.
I make a motion that we approve item number BR3.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on items BR3. Matthew, if you would, let's make sure that we send each of those people an appropriate communication thanking them for their service in the past.
Yes, sir.
I think that would be significant. Okay, hearing no other comments or on this particular topic, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you, Matthew.
Mr. Chairman, next are the presentations. The first one we had scheduled for 9 o'clock, so if we could we go to the second presentation, and we'll come back to the first one?
All right.
Second presentation is going to be the 2020 annual report of the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office and annual employee awards, and Sheriff Hoss Mack is with us this morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today and to deliver our annual report. I believe I have a PowerPoint. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. I have submitted this, but I did want to just go over a few high points and then certainly take any questions. Of course, what better title to have an annual report than What a Year? This year, not only with the current challenges that we always have within the Sheriff's Office, but also those challenges that we had with the different events. As y'all know, in March of last year, a year ago, actually, I guess, this past couple days, COVID-19 was declared. We immediately started working with our local emergency management and health department to address a lot of the specific issues that came in with this problem. Also during that time, if you remember, we also participated with the County Commission in developing our strategic plan. We started meeting with our department and division partners within the county, and I want to thank you for allowing the Sheriff's Office to participate in that. I thought that's the third strategic plan I've been a part of since I've been with the Sheriff's Office in my capacity, and certainly I think it was the best one that we've had. There was a lot of good comments and a lot of staff put a lot of effort in that. Then, of course, Hurricane Sally came, a devastating blow to Baldwin County. One of the challenges in that hurricane, as y'all know, was debris. Just a tremendous amount of debris that we had presented a challenge. We actually worked with many law enforcement agencies, not only in Baldwin County, but across the entire state, that came here and responded and helped us out. We worked with our utility partners in trying to work with that. We worked with Mr. Nunley and the Highway Department, who did an outstanding job in what they did, and also Zach and his staff at EMA. Also, during that time, we saw a little bit of national media going on in the field of law enforcement with some of the protests. At one time, we thought we were going to have 3 or 4 protests in this area. One of those was mitigated by Chief Al Talbert of the Bay Minette Police Department, myself. We actually sat down with an individual whose group was wanting to have a protest, and really when we sat down and talked things out, she realized they didn't have anything to protest about. And we just had a great discussion about that. There was one in Foley that we did help out with, and everything went very peaceful with that one. And then, of course, we had the presidential election. As you know, the sheriff is one of those that participate in our electoral process, along with the circuit clerk and the probate judge. Huge turnout in Baldwin County. I'm proud to say that Baldwin County always turns a lot of people out for the significant vote. But once again, it did present a few challenges that we had, both in the primary and the general election in November. One of the things that unique thing that we had going on in the Sheriff's Office, we had a lot of employee shortages this year. Last year we had some significant retirements once again, and so that created some vacancies. We had some positions that we're still trying to fill, and I'll kind of circle back around that one a little bit later. Correction Center, we participated in the planning and building implementation of the project that we've worked with the Commission on now for a couple of years, addressing our jail overcrowding and some other issues there. Some highlights, we expanded our K-9 unit this year, which was very significant. We expanded our school resource officer unit. That's a very public unit. A lot of people know about it, but once again, in cooperation with the Baldwin County Board of Education, we have at least one, and in some of our high schools, multiple school resource officers now doing daily interaction with our children. One of the resources that we actually derived from that was back when the schools were going virtual, we still had some SROs that were helping out, but we were able to take those SROs that were displaced out of their schools because of the virtual school and actually put them on the street. Coincidentally, that was during COVID and that was during the hurricane. So we were able to have additional resources of deputy sheriffs out on the road during that time. And then this past year also, we stood up and formally implemented our cyber crime unit, which of course, as you know, is one of the evolving trends right now we have in criminal activity. So just as a recap, currently we've been averaging about 315 employees per month that we have had. So January we had 314 and December we had 316. So we've been trying to get with that. A little demographic of our employees, you can kind of look at that and see what, I'll go all the way down. 84% of the employees now in the sheriff's office have less than 15 years of service. So we have a new face within the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. Our personnel, our workforce is approximately 40% female and 60% male. Our race demographics, as you can see there, with the average age of being 39. Our employees range from 20 to 74. And the breakdown of the different ones that work both in our enforcement and our corrections command. Once again, from HR, application numbers decreased. We did see a decrease in those numbers, and that should be, you see, from 2019 to 2020. It is true we have had fewer people wanting to enter the field of law enforcement in one regard, but I think another thing that we have is this is a highly competitive area for law enforcement. A lot of people, a lot of our, at one time in Baldwin County, I think just about every one of our police departments had a vacancy. So we were competing to hire a lot of people from the same pool, if you will. It made it a little bit more challenging. We did have, as I said, some significant retirements this past year, as you can see those that are noted on the board. We lost quite a few years of experience this past year, but we certainly congratulate those individuals that reached their retirement. We had a decrease of 11 people that we hired this year from the previous year. Corrections remained the largest division of new hires with 25, and enforcement was the second with 12. And a lot of those, once again, I said, were replacement positions. As you can see, our financials, we work very closely with the County Commission. Of course, the majority, over 80% of our total budget is financed solely by the Baldwin County Commission through general fund. But we do generate some money from some other areas. This, of course, is referencing monies that we receive from you in the fund and what that money is allocated to. You can see on the enforcement side, 80% of our budget goes back to personnel. And then, of course, those are the other top 6 items that money is spent on that is allocated out of the budget. This is, of course, the law. This is going to be a little bit more what we have from the expense side of it, the annual expenses. As you can see, those were expenses compared to actual budget. Our corrections call center, as you can see, essentially, if you look at it, not to the penny, but as you know, our general fund budget is about 51% allocated towards enforcement, with about 49% allocated towards corrections. So this is one of the things you'll notice. Number 1, of course, that's a big line item, but that was a line item that was carried over from this past year of monies that was allocated to the beginning of the jail construction project, which did not come about, as you know. So that would have made personnel would have been the largest expense item once again in redoing those numbers if you remove the new facility addition out. I'm very proud of, I'm going to take 2 things that I'll put out of this. You'll notice on medical contract with Quality Correctional Health Care, we do outsource our health care in the jail. We spent $1.8 million on health care in the correction center this past year. But we were able to recover a significant amount of that. Essentially, we recovered about $500,000 that came back out of that this past year. Some of those numbers of our medical expense went up because of the state of Alabama not taking DOC inmates. So right now, we currently have 100 DOC inmates that are in our facility. If they have been to DOC previously, then they will pay that medical bill. But if they're a new inmate going to DOC and they've not yet been assigned a DOC number, then the county's bearing the cost of the medical until the state actually takes physical custody of that individual. Our building maintenance department is another area that I want to highlight. The individuals over there, once again, we pretty much try to do as much as we can on our building maintenance internal, just like you have Mr. Long that oversees the maintenance for the county. We have Mr. Elam, who replaced John Henry, and our previous Mr. Dinkins, that was previously in that position before him, and they have just done an outstanding job. And once again, particularly with COVID, COVID presented some unique challenges. We put air filtration systems in to purify the air. We had the plumbing project that is still going on, replumbing all of Tower A, and our general maintenance items. So our maintenance folks have done an outstanding job this past year in trying to keep those costs down. Money spent, once again, you see the replumbing project. As of the end of the fiscal year, we'd already spent $866,000 on the plumbing project that we had there. And then, of course, some of our other general expenses associated with the maintenance of the facility. The sheriff is one of those unique entities in law enforcement that we do generate some income through our discretionary accounts. The primary is from our inmate housing contracts. We currently still have housing contracts with the U.S. Marshal Service. Those are for federal pretrial detainees. We have them with the Immigration's Customs Enforcement Service for temporary. That's a 72-hour detention while they may be determining a custody status of someone that may be deemed or perceived as being an illegal alien. And then, of course, we also have a contract with the City of Bay Minette to house all of their municipal arrests here in the city. Our inmate phone, our concealed carry permits, commonly referred to as the pistol permits, there is the revenue that was generated on those. Inmate phone service, that's the money that comes back to the county on that. We did have some overtime reimbursements. Once again, we get some of those. Some of that came in through CARES Act. Some of it came in through some other areas that we were able to get. Our inmate commissary, which is our inmate food, we were able to get that. Our seizures, and then, of course, all of our other revenue, which is basically fines, fees, things of that nature, a cumulative average of about 13 other sources of revenue combined the all other revenue column. So the total revenue that from discretionary accounts was $6.5 million. That was a decrease in $1.3 million from the previous year. Most of that has been a decrease initially in our housing contracts. When COVID first hit, prior to COVID and during the first few months, we actually saw our inmate numbers go way down. And then, of course, when the state quit taking inmates, then our started going back up in our inmate population. And, of course, the courts were suspended, as you well know, for several months. And so we weren't getting people sentenced or cases being adjudicated. So that is where the primary source of that was. So what do we spend our discretionary money on? That cap money, the BCC housing share, that's $942,000 that was returned back to the county commission on that. We were able to take $700,000 of our allocated discretion money and worked with you, and that went towards the purchase of the Bay Minette Municipal Complex building. Our inmate food expense was $616,000. And then, of course, others you see combines for weapons, equipment, computers, software, travel expenses, and all of our other miscellaneous expenses that we had. A majority of all those we totally fund out of our discretionary accounts, and they are not a line item in the general fund budget. Correction Center, of course, was dramatically influenced in 2020. COVID-19 was the most significant impact. We had to go to no public face-to-face visitations. We were very restricted on our court proceedings. As I said, the Alabama Department of Corrections declined and still has not started to take back sentenced inmates to the Department of Corrections. And then we did finally have a virus outbreak. We survived for several months. COVID did make its way into the Correction Center, but it didn't really hit that bad. It was manageable stable. We had already put in place a quarantine system within the correction center. It actually hit more employees than it did inmates. But in September to October of this year, we had our most significant outbreak. We had gotten up to a total of about 40 individuals at one time. We had I take it back, we had one hospitalization. Out of all those, no deaths. So we were able to manage that very well. And once again, our correction staff and medical staff did a fantastic job. What the plumbing project did, and the way that we're having to conduct the plumbing project, is we actually have to shut down essentially a floor or a half of a floor of the tower every time we go in, because if you can imagine, if you had one large room, we're replumbing one side of the room while everybody stays on the other side, and then we swap. So what that did is it took around 50 to 75 beds away. So that made us from a 650 bed facility to a 600 bed facility, sometimes less. And so that was the reason for that. The latest reports we have from the plumbing contractor, it does seem that they are on track. We're hoping that project gets finished within the next 60, possibly as much as 90 days. But right now they're on track for about a 60-day completion on that project. And of course, with that came several security issues and some equipment issues, but we were able to handle. This is just some of the movement that we had. The correction center is moving every day. A lot of people think that inmates just sit in one particular area, and we literally are moving sometimes 10, 20, maybe 100 inmates a day because of the projects that are going on and different things that we are having to deal with within the corrections environment. Our inmate population, as you can see, there's the number there. You can see the dip that happened in April and May. We'd gotten all the way down at one time. I think we actually hit a one-time average of 400. And now, of course, it started to creep back up. And, of course, that was through December of this year. Right now, I think today we had 603 inmates in the jail today. That was what we've seen, and I mentioned about the Department of Corrections inmates. So in June of 2020, we had 35, and that's about an average for us. We would average about 20 to 30 a month, and those are people that are coming into the system, and pre-COVID, they were going to state prison usually within about 4 to 6 weeks, which that's the time it takes to get the transcript from the clerk's office and all those things to happen. And then, of course, you can see the increase, and I said as of today, we have 122 now here in March of state DOC inmates that are in our jail. We've still been working on the project, the jail project that's in the design, and we satisfied on the total design, everything there that is in the dark gray area, of course, is the new facility that we're looking at in that proposal, and once again, we had a lot of collaboration on that. Our calls for service, as you know, we have 8 patrol areas in Baldwin County. Area 1, of course, being our northernmost patrol area. Area 8 is the part that we cover on Fort Morgan Road. You can see the average call volume there, and we had over 101,000 calls for service this past year. That number was actually down a little bit in most areas, once again, because of COVID. We did see some crime statistics that were affected, we believe, by COVID. If you'll notice, particularly breaking and entering of a vehicle, there was a decrease there. There was a decrease in burglaries of residences, and a lot of that was because people were at home. They were staying at home, so there was a little bit more eyes on the property and things of that nature that you can see. You also see, as we expected, a little bit of rise in domestic violence, different things that went on during that time as well. Another thing that was really kind of concerning this past year is we saw a significant uptick in automobile theft. And that was pretty much consistent with all of our municipalities as well. So we've been working with them a little bit on some different projects that we have had, and have had some great success in solving and recovering some of these vehicles now in record time. Some of our reported crime statistics, as you see, once again, just a comparison going back to 2019, and those numbers that you see there. As you notice, our traffic contacts, of course, they went up. We had more deputies on the road. Usually when you have more deputies on the road, you're going to have more traffic contacts. But our number of written tickets, percentage-wise, actually went down. We give out, of course, more warning and written warnings than we do actually uniform traffic citations. Our patrol division made a little over 1,200 arrests, responded to 58,000 calls, and once again, that was a decrease. Our community policing, of course, went up. Once again, that was more deputies on the road making contact, and visibility is the first deterrent in decreasing crime, and we believe that that had a significant impact. We did have 73 vehicle pursuits, and when I say that, those are not all high-speed pursuits. Those are pursuits just people refusing to stop. I think our lowest speed pursuit was one that was about 25 miles an hour, but they were refusing to stop. We did have spike deployments, one of the things that we used to try to end a pursuit as quickly and safely as possible. We did have an increase in 32 resistance reports. Those are actual arrests that we have to make where we have to somehow lay hands on an individual, whether that's physical hands, and in this case we noted there were 19 taser deployments. So once again, of those taser deployments, there was no serious injury to the person being tased, and also there were no serious injuries to the deputy in those cases. We did create, we now have canines assigned. We have a canine out on every shift now. We're providing pretty much 24-hour coverage with our dogs. That's very important. All of our dogs, with the exception of our bloodhound, are cross-trained dogs. So they're narcotics as well as tracking dogs and assist in apprehensions. And that has been proven very successful. We provided over 9,000 hours of off-duty employment. Once again, most of that came following COVID. We had a lot of requests to guard a lot of areas that were debris areas, things of that nature, areas that were typically secured and were unsecured following the hurricane. And as I said, we did assist with a couple protest events in Bay Minette and Foley. It was one of our protest events that was down in Foley. That was the largest event that we had there. Our Special Operations Unit, which is primarily a traffic and drug interdiction unit, we had over 3,500 stops. We seized $870,000 of drug-related currency and money. The number one thing we seized, meth, is still on the uprise in Baldwin County. Had over 21 pounds of meth and had 155 felony arrests in relation to drugs and drug trafficking. And then we were also able to use our Special Operations Unit to once again assist with COVID and Hurricane Sally. There's a picture of all your dogs, Hunter, Aesop, Neo, Wood, Angie, and Quintos. And of course, Angie, as you see there, second from the right, she's our bloodhound tracking dog, and just a overall, as we would say, a slobbery and warm dog. The standard joke is they will bring her in my office and put her in my chair. I always know she's been in my chair when I can look and see the slobber on my desk. But we have a great canine corps. We actually had another milestone this year. We had our first female canine officer, and that was great. Great job by Stephanie in coming to that. I mentioned our school resource unit. Significant was the national accreditation body for school resource officers is NASRO, and NASRO awarded our SOR unit the highest award, and it was called the Model Agency Award. And essentially what that does, if you're a new agency and you contact NASRO and you want to start a school resource program, Baldwin County is now listed. This is one of the counties you need to go to and see how it's done. And that's at a nationwide level. So that was huge. Our SRO did a great job in doing that. We did, of course, work with Bay Minette on working with the North Baldwin Center for Technology. As you know, school was canceled during the year. As I said, we used our SRO unit to supplement other operations. We did have to cancel our Shining Star Camp both last year and this year because of planning purposes, but we really look forward to starting that back up. We did provide a lot of security and working with our municipal agencies on the COVID-19 test sites, and of course, as well as the vaccination sites. We assisted both the cities of Daphne and Foley in those. We had over 1,600 deputy on contact SRO calls, and what those are not SROs. They are deputies that are going to the schools in addition to our SROs, working with them, helping out, and different things of that nature. Our debris cleanup, as I said, one of the unique challenges that we had during Hurricane Sally is we had several water rescues. This was a significant rescue between the Alberta and Summerdale area. These were two brothers that got swept away in over 8 feet of water going across County Road 32 at a certain location, and literally they were found clinging to trees. Our deputies were able to respond. We actually even had to solicit the help of gentlemen in the public to come up and literally help form a human chain to get out there and get these two individuals rescued from the trees. Judicial Protective Services, which used to be our court security team, that is under a new leadership now, Sergeant David Winston and Lieutenant Matt Morrison, overseeing that unit. And of course, our numbers were way down on courthouse visits this past year because of COVID, but we did see a significant flow of individuals still coming in for non-court related activities such as probate judge at our satellite courthouses and things of that nature that we work with. We did participate this past year in overall court security and operations evaluation by the United States Marshal Service. We're still working through that plan with our Courthouse Security Committee on making recommendations on some design and safety implementations that are going to be made eventually to the County Commission. However, we already have implemented several of those internally. We've had some assistance by Mr. Long once again on some renovation over in our security area in the Bay Minette Courthouse, and we're continuing to work that plan. So that is the end of the presentation that I have. I want to say that once again, this is a partnership. We could not do what we do if it wasn't for the four of you assisting us. We know you have our back, and you've always worked very well in supporting your sheriff's office, but you also have a tremendous staff. CIS, many times overlooked because they are literally the men and women behind the computers handling our problems. We've never contacted Mr. Peacock or anybody within that division that we have not had an immediate response. And not only is that for us computers, but that's our entire radio system, which is huge. One of the largest radio systems in the entire state of Alabama. Most people don't realize because of what we can link and what we can back up to is maintained right here in Baldwin County. And so we really appreciate them. The administrative staff, Ms. Galtney, has just absolutely once again worked wonderful with us this year in budget and purchasing, and a lot of those things on several of our contracts. We will have more contracts coming out this year. Mr. Sink, Mr. Dice, all of those have always worked very well with us, and I just want to take a point of personal privilege and personally thank them on behalf of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office for what they do. The last thing I have is I will now conclude. I would be remiss, as I said, that we have a lot of special people that work within the Sheriff's Office, and so I will end this and then take any questions that you have. But we did have our annual awards and recognition meeting this past month. I'm sorry that we were not able to invite a lot of people because of COVID restrictions that were still in place. Although, once again, the CIS department came up and we were able to build a link so that family members could watch that live and see their spouses, their children, their grandchildren, their parents receive the awards. So our 2021 recognition for 2020 was as follows. Our Supporting the Star went to Protec Companies. Protec was a company that initially helped us design the initial camera systems with the Board of Education in the schools several years ago, and they work in a lot of law enforcement technology area. Our Supporting the Star was Miss Debbie Bullman, who oversees our police academy down in the administrative side in Stapleton. She is an employee of A-Post, but is assigned to us and works at our Baldwin County campus. Our Administrative Support Award went to our support division that oversees the 150-plus vehicles and different equipment that we have within the Sheriff's Office. We recognize Sergeant Matt Hunnity for his years of service as a canine service handler. Mike is now in training at the academy. Our Shining Star Award went to Miss Brittany Lundy, who works in our Bay Minette Administrative Office. Our Correction Service Employee of the Year was Miss Jacqueline Cotton, who is our RN that oversees our medical facility within the Correction Center. Our Correction Support Officer was Joshua McCants. Our Correction Security Officer was John Barlow. We had 2 Rookie of the Year awards. One went to Mr. Deputy Pate Caldwell and Deputy Kate Faldowski. Our Patrol Deputy of the Year was Jared Sheffield. Our Civil Affairs Officer of the Year was J.R. Herring. Our School Resource Officer of the Year was Six-Toe Boyer. And of course, Six-Toe has received some additional recognition recently. He was nominated by one of our local TV stations as being Smiles Behind the Shields Award because he's always smiling. But he is our SOR officer at Pine Grove Elementary School. Our CID Investigator of the Year was James Boros. Our Drug Task Force Officer of the Year was James Mack. Our Scott Ward Fit for Duty Award went to Anthony Kyle. And our Scott Ward Fitness of the Award, the second one, went to Lucas Jones. And I congratulate all of those individuals on the awards that they were presented and received this past year. They were very much deserving of those. With that, Commissioners, that is my report to you. And once again, I thank you and be glad to take any questions you have.
Sheriff, I'll start out.
Please.
I appreciate, that, what y'all have done in this county. You'd be surprised how just while we had the COVID going on and the schools were out, that your SRO deputies worked Fort Morgan.
Yes, sir.
I had so much praises about those folks that were working in Fort Morgan. They were dedicated. They did a tremendous job, and they were begging for them to come back. Every one of them, they wanted them all back down there. And because they did a good job. But I mean, and they helped the citizens anytime they needed something. They were there, and which makes it tough when you have to pull that back now, because they got that service, they're used to it. But I know we're doing everything you can to do that. It is a manpower shortage.
Yes, sir.
Equipment shortage and everything else, and it costs money to do all that.
Well,
but,
Commissioner,
y'all did a fantastic job with that, and I want to commend y'all for that.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that. I was remiss. The item that you budgeted and funded this year was for the new beach patrol. We stood that up 3 weeks ago. It is in effect in Fort Morgan. In fact, the 2 deputies that we have assigned to that just completed an additional training with the Gulf Shores Fire Rescue, and they did very successful in that. But we now have those 2 deputies full-time assigned, thank God, just in time for spring break.
Yeah.
But they are now at Fort Morgan.
That's fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Good. Very good.
Oh, Sheriff, thank you so much. It's can't thank you guys enough for what you do. And for last year was what a year it really was, and for you guys especially, because I think you guys did an awesome job handling the situation. Because I mean, none of us had a blueprint on how to handle it. But I want to thank you so much for being able to share this publicly. Because recognizing people, saying, I appreciate you, but then being able to appreciate people in public is even that much more important. And to be on the situation where you can actually, and thank our staff. I mean, we're nothing compared to what our staff is. And I'm just so glad to hear what our staff is doing to help you. Plus, you guys always say this. I always still feel safe in Baldwin County, and thank you guys, because I know y'all got our back too.
Thank you.
Well, Sheriff, thank you so much. I think one of the most prideful parts of this job is being able to work in conjunction directly with your office. And, you're never, like you said with Brian Peacock, I can pick up the phone and call you the same way, and you always respond back. Any of your staff does, and it's a privilege to be a part of this big team that we have here in Baldwin County. It's a very special team, just going across the state, listening to other people talk. I mean, we have a unique bond here, which I enjoy being a part of. And like Commissioner Underwood said, I think we live in the safest place that you can imagine, and people come here. And when all the growth happens here and people move here, I think one of the qualities of life that we present here is the safety of our communities. And That's between y'all and all the municipalities that work this great county. So I can't thank you enough for what you do. You know how I feel about your office, and just hats off to y'all and to each of y'all that are sitting out here today. Please let everybody know that's not watching this that how much we appreciate them, support them, and congratulations to all the award recipients.
Thank you.
Sheriff, I can't say it any better than my three colleagues did, but there's certain things I want to repeat, certain things I want to point out. You know that in my personal life, my wife and I's oldest granddaughter is in law enforcement up in Shelby County. And so first responders and people that take care of people and address problems, that's significant, and it is done as well as any place in the world in Baldwin County. And that's because of you and your team and our ability to do our role to support you. We don't tell you what to do. We don't tell any of our department heads what to do. We point out situations and we help come up with solutions. And one of the things that kind of intrigues me is as we're getting bigger, are we attracting good guys and bad guys, good girls and bad girls? I'm sure we are. I would hope that the state can get their act together, and let's not have 106 or however many people. And I'm curious, at some point, are they sent places based on where they're from, or is it just where corrections needs to get rid of somebody? You don't have to answer that, but we want to make sure that we talk to Montgomery and higher up if we have to.
Yes, sir.
To get that addressed, because you've got plenty of folks that you need to take care of that are here in Baldwin County. And to be sent people from other places for us to house them is not fair to your department, and it's not fair to our citizens. But thank you again for everything you do. Pass it on to everybody, because I am privileged, proud, and honored to be a small part of a wonderful team, and you're one of the key components in your department. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, if we could go back to CA1.
All right.
This is the resolution for
Thank you.
Ivan Jones. I believe they're in the library, so if we could get them a minute to come
Sure.
in here. We have a group that's, I believe, is here. I think it's- Mr. Chairman, if I may, read the resolution first, and then the commissioners will present that resolution, and we'll take pictures after that.
See, Zach's found him a chair. Good to have you with us. Saw you outside there, sir. Know you're busy. Part of what we do, isn't it?
Mr. Chair, if I may read the resolution? In respect of the life and legacy of former Foley High School football coach Ivan Jones, whereas as an overwhelming sense of loss, we mourn the death of former Foley High School football coach, Principal Ivan Jones of Foley, Alabama on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. Whereas Ivan Jones was born March 10, 1926 in Clark County, Alabama, and grew up near Jackson, Alabama. He attended Jackson High School and was drafted into the Navy before finishing high school, and served in the Pacific Theater during World War II from 1944 to 45. And whereas after his discharge from the Navy in 1946, Coach Jones returned to Jackson High School, and after graduation attended Troy University, where he graduated in 1951 and later earned his master's degree from the University of Alabama. Whereas throughout his life, Coach Jones was always involved in and passionate about football, playing football for Jackson High School, and later being a standout football player for Troy University until a severe bus accident ended his football career during his sophomore year. And whereas Coach Jones began his teaching and coaching career after graduating Troy University in 1951, he took over the football program at Foley High School as head coach in 1955, where over the next 14 years he turned Foley into one of the most dominant programs in the state, winning 10 county championships, 2 state championships, and never having a losing season. During the 1960-64 seasons, Coach Jones' teams had an incredible record of 47 wins and 3 losses. The 1961 team went 10-0 and outscored their opponents 433-6. Whereas Coach Jones was a smart and savvy coach, but his greatest skill was his ability to relate to his players and build them up to play at a level far above their God-given talents. He coached many great athletes who went on to star at various SEC schools and play in the Senior Bowl. One of his star quarterbacks, Kenny Stabler, went on to play at the University of Alabama, won a national championship, became a collegiate All-American, and earned an NFL contract, won a Super Bowl, and was inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Whereas Coach Jones retired as head coach after the 1968 season and served as a principal at Foley High School for the next 20 years. He was loved by his players, students, and school staff his entire career. After retiring, he became an avid and talented golfer, playing regularly until his late 80s and once shot a round of 78 at the age of 81. Whereas Coach Jones was a charter member of the Foley High School and Baldwin County Athletics Hall of Fame, he served as head coach in the All-Star Game, was selected Coach of the Year in the state, and served as president of the Alabama Coaches Association, representing Alabama at the National Coaches Convention in Las Vegas in the late 60s, and being inducted into the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame in 1994. Whereas the football stadium was named Ivan Jones Stadium in 2004, and Coach Jones received the Arch Mobile Lifetime Achievement Award in 2005 and Alabama Football Coaches Association Lifetime Achievement Award in 2015. Whereas Coach Jones is survived by his wife of 58 years, Julia Bristow Jones, his sons Julian Darrell Jones, and John Byron Jones. Whereas Coach Jones loved Foley and for over 60 years tirelessly gave back to the school and community. For decades, he volunteered coaching summer league baseball, taught swimming lessons, and was a volunteer middle school football coach until his late 80s. He was a positive influence on local youth for 3 generations. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Baldwin County Commission in regular session assembled that we recognize the many achievements and contributions of Coach Ivan Jones and extend our heartfelt sympathy to his family and friends whose grief is shared by many. Mr. Chairman, if we could present the resolution to John and Mrs. Jones.
Yes. We're all 4 going to go down.
Yes, sir.
And as a native of Clark County, I knew of Coach Jones long before he got to Baldwin County because he left a legacy there as well. And the Jackson Aggies gave the Thomasville Tigers fits all the time.
And John, you want to come to the podium and say a few words, John? You want to come to the podium and say a few words?
I got to take this off, or am I leaving on? I'd just like to thank the county, the commissioners. This is a big honor. We're certainly going to miss him, but, you know, let it be known how much he loved Foley and he loved this entire county. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for thinking of him and remembering him. And I just wanted to thank you so much. Thank you, Wayne.
I think we're going to get a picture up here at the
If we could, let's step right up here and we'll get a picture.
Commissioners, can we get one more of the paper and ask inmates?
Oh, sure.
It's such an honor to see you guys.
Oh, yeah. Here you go.
Legends in the house.
Commissioners, on behalf of the Foley Lions, we're humbly honored to represent hundreds of athletes. In our particular group that we have today, we represent 2 state championships, 3 straight Gulf State championships. Gulf State Conference was very active back then. It doesn't exist anymore. the 6th grade county titles. And the players here today represent a record of 55-5. We're humbly thankful to our great coach, his family, for all they've done. We also have a couple cheerleaders here in the old days. Thank you for honoring our great coach. Come on, Mr. Come on. Oh, was Dick City? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see him out there. We thought he was supposed to be here, but couldn't remember. He's in that same age group, so we got the same statistics apply. Good age.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
Can we say something?
I sure do. Yeah, that's what I asked him. Yeah, give him a chance to. Anybody that's got a comment? Yes, sir. There's what I'm asking you.
I would like to.
Let them say something.
Right. Before they leave. Hey guys, don't leave yet.
Judge.
Mr. Moore, Mr.
Hold on a second.
Hold on.
We'd like for y'all to hear some of our comments, and if y'all have other comments or anybody wants to speak on behalf of recognizing Coach Jones, we'd love for you to do that. If you could, come to the podium, and then after that, some of us may want to have a comment as well. Could you? Anybody?
Any of the players?
I'm sure Judge Russell has got some words to say, I'm sure.
Come on, Judge.
Coach Smith?
Yes.
Coach Smith definitely would.
Yes, sir.
Coach Smith and Judge Russell.
And Principal, Coach Smith, you want to make some comments? He's a statistical wizard. He'll find an error that I make.
Well, just a word or two. Coach Jones was not just a great coach, but a great man. When he came to Foley in 1955, well, he actually came earlier than that as an assistant coach, but when he came back as head coach in 1955, I had the privilege, and a lot of other guys, of playing Pony League baseball under him. That was my first encounter with him. And we were 18-0 after my 8th grade year, and won 3 games at district in Dothan, and won our first game at state. And that would have been in the summer of 1958. So that was my first real encounter with him. And but he coached me in junior high basketball, as he did a lot of other guys. He taught swimming, and then I had the privilege of playing for him in 1959, 60, and 61. And we were 19-1 my last 2 years, and 60-61 is part of that 40-73 group that went in 5 years, lost 3 games. 2 of those were to Viger, real close games. I think I want to say a 20-14 game and a 14-13 game to Viger, but and we lost 1 game to Bay Minette my junior year. And I had the privilege of succeeding him. I don't know really how you don't replace Coach Jones, but I had the privilege of coaching with him for 2 years in 1967-68 when I came back to Foley after finishing college. And what a great role model and great coach he was to teach me a lot of things about football when I was 23, 24, 25 years old. And had the privilege of following him, and not replacing him, but following him for the next 17 years. But he would come out to practice. he'd see somebody doing something wrong, and he didn't mind telling them right off the bat. So, and I didn't mind that at all, because I knew that they and myself were learning from the master, and they're just a personal thing from standpoint of my son Keith. Keith coached junior high football at Foley for probably 20 years, almost 20 years, 25 years total at Foley High School and Foley Middle School. And Coach Jones, even when he was in his late 80s, I think his last year, Keith told me he was 87, and Coach Jones was Keith's offensive line coach at the age of 87. That's how much he loved those kids, and how much he loved Keith and coaching, and just the community of Foley. So, and we hated when he couldn't coach anymore, but he got to the point where he said he just couldn't get out of the way of the players, lining up behind the offense or defense, and he couldn't move quickly enough to get away. That's the only reason that he had to get out of it. But he would still come out and watch. And he was interested in everything that went on in Foley. You'd see him at athletic events all over the county. If Foley was playing somewhere, it might have been baseball, it might have been basketball, but he went to all kinds of games, even later in life. And not only that, not only his interest in Foley, but his interest in the county as a whole. If Foley wasn't playing, if Robert Stell and whoever was playing, or Bay Minette Farrell was playing, you might find him at that game. So he was just real interested in, and kept an interest in Foley and in the county for many, many years, right up to the end. And just a great man. People loved him to death. And I was telling John, that I hope we expressed it to him. We tried to go to see him once in a while, to drop him a note and that sort of thing, or pick up the phone and call him once in a while to let him know how much we loved him and how much we appreciated him. And I think he knew that. But what a great coach and a great man. And we're going to miss him terribly, as somebody was saying earlier, and seeing him around the athletic events and that sort of thing. So thank you all for honoring him. It's well deserved. And his record, by the way, is 108, 28, and 3 in his 14 years. Thus, players say it was 110, 26, and 3, because we had to forfeit 2 games his last year in coaching in 1968 for inadvertently using an ineligible player that the state declared ineligible. We thought he was eligible, and I still do. But at any rate, we still claim those 2 games ourselves. The state doesn't. But in Foley's mind, he's 110, 26, and 3. And had 14 straight winning seasons, and just a great coach. Thank you all again for honoring him, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a word or 2 about him. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Anyone else? Team members, family members, any other comments or statements we need to make? All right, if not, some of us may have some statements that we'd like to share. Billy Joe? Skip? Let's start with that.
Yeah, Coach Jones was a heck of a coach. I mean, you played for him, you put 110% into it. He was just that type of person. He was going to get every bit of you killed out of you. And I remember in one spring training, he put me up against, I was a little guy back then. He put me up against a real big guy, and we hit helmets, and I tell you what, I thought, oh my goodness, I've been run over by a train. But he said, get up, boy, you got to get going. But, it was just his demeanor, he always wanted to help the kids. I know later on in his life, when my son grew up a little bit later, he went to Foley High School, and he played football and he played baseball, and Coach Jones loved baseball. People thought it was football, but he really loved baseball, I think, more than he did football. But he was constantly, trying to help the younger kids with baseball, and he did a fantastic job, out there. But no matter what sport it was, he was going to be there. And, he was just a dedicated person to the community, and we appreciate y'all letting him do that for us. Thank you.
I can't say enough. To me, he was such an encourager. I'll say this, we got some Foley lines in the house. Once a line, once a Foley line, always a Foley line. And as a female athlete at Foley, he would be at my basketball games in the lobby, and he would say, "Way to go, Billy Joe." And I'm like, how does he know me? You know? And he just knew everybody, and he didn't forget your name, not even up until, you know, later on, I saw him just a few years ago, and it's like you would pass him in Walmart, and he'd be in the bread aisle or wherever at Walmart, and my husband Gary, he'd go, "Hey Gary, hey Billy Joe," and it's like, can you imagine how many students and how many athletes that he knew all those years, and he still recognized people, and that was such an encouragement. And it's a, I don't like to use the word pride, but it's a source of pride when you're, you know, I remember the football games. I love going to the football games, and the band would come up and do the PRIDE, pride. And of course that's associated with, you know, the Lions having Pride, which is a group of family of lions, and it just all was so fitting. But I just can't say enough of what an encourager he was. And not to mention, Wayne was like, there's no other word that describes him but legendary. And I think you guys that are representing your different teammates and Miss Jones and John, when people mention Ivan Jones, it's like nobody ever has anything bad to say about him, you know? And it was just such an encourager to so many young people. And I know my husband told me, he's like, "Well, he taught me how to swim. Who taught you how to swim?" And I'm like, I was jealous because he didn't teach me how to swim. So he has taught so many people different things. And to even be interested in girls basketball was just so encouraging to me, that he would be at the old gym there in Foley, and the way the gyms were set up back then. They were kind of freestanding buildings, not like they're kind of, a lot of them are built inside the schools now, so you don't have that little lobby area that they had back then. And it just, I can't say enough, and I'm so thankful that you guys were able to come today, and that we were able to honor him, honor you, and honor some of his teammates and players, team players from the past. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. It means a lot.
Jeff?
Thank y'all again for being here today. It was a very honorable presentation, and it was a privilege to be a part of something like that. I don't know Coach Jones as well as everybody else does, but growing up here in Bay Minette my whole life, we heard all the stories and knew when Foley was coming to play us down here. So it was never in our stands, even with the older fellas that I sat with, there was always stories told about Coach Jones when Foley was down there playing us. So but it just, my respect to the family. And again, it was an honor and a privilege to be a part of such a humbling presentation today. Thank you all for sharing him with us.
Would you like to make a comment, sir? Please do.
I'm not much of a speaker, but I would like to say that Coach Jones had a big influence on my life. I played varsity ball from 58 through 60, and I guess my team, my senior year, Lester was my quarterback, but that 60 team got that 47-3 record rolling, and it was just an enjoyable time of my life. I hear people say that they wouldn't want their son playing ball because they might get hurt and all this, but it was worth everything to just be a part of one of those teams. And through the years, as he kind of became shut in, I would take time to call him. And when I'd tell him who was on the phone, he'd say, "Oh, Claude, it's so good to hear you." Just means a lot, and I appreciate you a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, let me wrap it up from up here. Coach Jones is somebody that not only are we recognizing today, but all of us in this room and everybody watching needs to remember what he did, how he did it, why he did it, and what can we do to pass it on. I was blessed to be 152 pounds and played in 63, 4, and 5 at Thomasville. We knew about a whole lot of great players. We had some that we played against. We had some that we read about. And we followed the things that went into being part of a team. And I want all of us to think about him telling us, Joe, what have you done to help the young people going forward, regardless of what sport it's in? When it was mentioned about golf, I've been blessed, my family's been blessed to participate in that, as well as baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and all the games. But you talk about a difficult game, because most of the time it's played between your ears, and you have to think your way around. And for him to shoot below 80 when he was over 80, there's not a lot of people that have ever been able to do that. And that's quite an accomplishment. But that's an individual accomplishment for him. The accomplishments that he made to impact all of you here and the many hundreds that aren't here is the significance that we all need to use as an incentive for us to do the same thing for the young people that'll be coming along in whatever sport it is. And if, as we told our kids, you can't hit the ball if you don't hit the books. So encourage young people to get things done and to move forward. And Coach Jones will be looking down at us, giving us some ideas, Skip, about how best to stay out of the way of that big guy, right? But thank y'all very much for this opportunity for us to recognize a great man. Thank you.
We need to have a vote on the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution in legend of former Foley High School football coach Ivan Jones.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all signify by saying aye in support of this resolution. Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. All right. Wayne, if we could, let's take about a 8-minute, 10-minute break if we could, please.
Yes, sir.
And that'll give us a chance to get the house in order and do some other things we need to do.
look for that little orange thing on the side of mine, and if I see, I'm like, orange, okay. Then I'll still push it, you know.
Wayne, are we ready to get started again, please? Okay, good. If everybody that's in here will please take a seat or pause, and we will move on with our agenda. Wayne, if you would lead us on, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The next item is under presentations is CA3, recognition of employees who completed the Management Fundamentals Program. And we have Mr. Armando Love, our training coordinator, here with us this morning to present these awards. Armando?
Very good, Hondo.
Morning, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So, once again, we're here to make a presentation to two people that have completed the Management Fundamentals Program. Again, this is a 6-week course. Our participants, they attend one session a week for 6 weeks. It covers everything from group dynamics, team building, coaching motivation, conflict management, progressive discipline, understanding budgets, behavior-based interviewing, and performance evals as well. One thing that makes these two individuals unique to the others that have completed is the way the program is set up. You can either take it 6 straight weeks, or you can go ahead and take the steps to balance the classes with your work schedule. Now, both of these people are from the administration department, which you know their work schedule can get taxing, to say the least. So what these two people did was, and it took them approximately, I want to say, about 5 months to complete the whole program, but they cranked it out. And one thing that was very cool is that every time we sent out the training schedule, they would send me emails saying, okay, how many do I have left? What have I taken? What do I have to complete? And they actually made sure that I was steadfast with my duties to make sure I kept them informed. And from the training perspective, when you have two people that are as dedicated to their responsibilities at work along with their development, that just gets me going. That gets me going. Love that, love that. So I'd like to go ahead and recognize these two people. First one we have, Ms. Kristen Lawson. Come on over here, Ms. Kristen. I guess. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to make some comments?
Sure.
I think most of you know I started out in highway, and then I transferred to personnel, and now I'm in administration. And I think I can honestly say I am so blessed to work with such wonderful people who are dedicated to the county, but also dedicated to helping their staff learn and grow and succeed. So I just want to say thank you to y'all, and thank you to everybody that has helped and encouraged me up to this point.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, this next person, I've got to say, I feel cheated. This is why. When you're able to work with a person that is as fantastic as she is, just to find out that she's getting ready to retire, I feel cheated, because working with some great people that I've had in my career, she's absolutely one person I wouldn't mind working with until the day I hang it up. She's awesome, fantastic to have in class, brought a lot of her experience to class, is the right mix of dedication, intelligence, and sassiness. I love that. Ms. Monica English. You're welcome.
Monica, please.
Much like Kristen, I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity. It was fun learning new things. Unfortunately, like Armando said, this is on the tail end of my journey here, but I did have fun. I want to thank everybody for the many years that I've been here. I've learned a lot, and I just hope that this program continues because it gives the opportunity for employees to really get in and better themselves to grow in their positions. So thank you all.
Thank you very much.
And again, I want to thank not only Kristen and Ms. Monica for all the work that they put in, but I want to thank Ms. Anu as well for giving them the opportunity to not only attend these classes, but also really make the effort to balance their class attendance with their never-ending duties in administration as well.
Very good.
So thank you all so much.
Thank you. For those of you here and those that might be watching later, I think it's very significant for us to recognize that as we get bigger, we're trying to get better, and we're trying to help our people get better to give the citizens even better service. So it's a real pleasure to be part of a team that encourages people to learn. And whether you're on the front end of a employment cycle or maybe toward the back, but if we retire, that gives us an opportunity to maybe be a volunteer and help us in some other topics. And we definitely want to hear from you on that. Okay, Monica? Okay. All right, very good. Thank you, Armando. Wayne, what we got next?
Mr. Chairman, next we have...
I just want to say, Monica, you know this means you have to stay longer now. We'll put that to a vote if you want to.
That was in fine print, I think. Wasn't that in the fine print?
You got to stay longer.
That means Monica's got to stay longer. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all.
All right. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman, next are our public hearings. We have 3 public hearings this morning. The first public hearing is DR1, case number Z-21002, city property rezoning. And this morning we have Selena here to give us our presentation.
All right. This is a request to rezone 4.7 acres. It's currently zoned RSFE, which is Single Family Estate District, and the applicant is asking that it be rezoned to B3 commercial to allow for commercial use of the subject property. The subject property is located in Planning District 15 at County Road 64. You can see the subject property is zoned RSFE. It's to the west and east. There is adjacent RSFE. To the north is rural agriculture. And then further to the west, close to the intersection of 181 and 64, is some B3 commercial zoning. Here's an aerial photography of the subject property. Staff has reviewed and then here's the current land use, current commercial use of the subject area. You can see there's several commercial businesses, and they're all in together with some residential areas. The zoning for Planning District 15 was adopted by the County Commission in August of 2006. This area has seen significant residential and commercial growth. Because of the residential growth, there's also an increased demand for commercial development to serve these areas. Staff has recommended approval of this request. The Planning Commission at their February meeting had recommended denial.
Wayne, do we need to, we've had a big presentation that took some time, but we have some protocols in place dealing with our public hearings. Can you go over that, and hopefully everyone that wants to speak will get a chance to speak, but we need to kind of state the ground rules if we would.
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to, Mr. Chairman. Also, we need to open the public hearing when we get started. We have several speakers. But, Mr. Chairman, the protocols are that each speaker has 3 minutes. approximately 3 minutes to give a presentation, to give their comments. If you have a group, the group speaker has 5 minutes, and all comments should be directed to the chair and not to the audience, but the chair should receive all the comments, and that's typically how we do that. But again, in respect for everybody's time, 3 minutes for individual speakers and 5 minutes for group speakers.
And we also have a timer over here, not to put any pressure on anybody, but to give you some idea of where you are in your time slot. And we're not going to zap you out of the room or anything, but we do need to be respectful of everybody's time, and we want to hear your salient points and go from there. So with those kind of understood, we'll open the public hearing. We're opening the public hearing on this case. Let me find the name of it. It's case Z-21002, the Sudi property rezoning.
And Mr. Chairman, we have several speakers. The first speaker signed up is Mrs. Joanne Keller.
All right. Ms. Kelly, please.
Thank you. My name is Joanne Keller. My husband, can you hear me with?
Why don't you pull it? Yeah, there we go. I don't have a hearing problem, but I can hear you better if I can see your mouth. Okay.
My husband Arthur and I live adjacent to the Sudi property in a long-standing, well-established, thriving residential area on County Road 64. New families have moved in, remodeling and revitalizing the neighborhood. We are flourishing as a close-knit community. As stated, District 15 was established in 2006 to protect the homes and properties of its residents from development that would degrade either the property values or the quality of life. Being surrounded by residentially zoned property, rezoning the Sudi property to any form of commercialization would definitely harm both. Mr. Sudi has stated previously the reasons that he moved and is selling his property. The following are a few of the many reasons that the rest of us are staying and maintaining our residences. The future widening of County Road 64 is not a detriment to our community. We look forward to the center turn lane installed for our safety. A future turn lane being placed at 181 and 64 will help alleviate the backup of traffic. The most important reason that we are all remaining is because of our great neighborhood. We support and help each other. Instead of condemning the actions of the county, we applaud the county and you as commissioners for having the foresight to address the problems affecting County Road 64. Mr. Sudi no longer lives in or cares about our community. Please do not let him destroy it like Sherman's march to the sea. Approval of this rezoning request will be the beginning of the end of our neighborhood. All we want as residents in this wonderful residential community is to be able to live peacefully and happily in our homes without the threat of a commercial takeover. Please uphold the principles of the District 15 ordinance by protecting the value of our homes and our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions?
Any questions from the dais?
Okay.
No, ma'am. Thanks for your input.
And I didn't take 3 minutes.
Yeah, you did good. You did good.
Mr. Chairman, the next speaker is Mrs. Frances Rigsby.
And I will tell you, I timed this before.
We got about 20 minutes. No.
I don't think you guys want me that long. Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. I am Frances Berger Rigsby. I represent Ava and Myrick Garbos, whose property joins Mr. Sudi on the south. My property beyond that in the green, and I represent the zoning ordinance of District 15 designed to protect homeowners from the types of this type of commercial intrusion. We are requesting the Commission reject the zoning of this property for any manner of commercial use because it will be detrimental not only to Bell Forest, but set a precedent precedent to all of estate residents, homeowners in Baldwin County. I was amazed in Robertsdale that this property was being zoned and being a dense residential area, that planning and zoning staff could present such a glowing recommendation to rezone. I was also amazed at the email circulating in Bell Forest claiming that the rezoning was assured by the commissioners. I have 3 quick points. Traffic, I don't think I need to go any farther, 64 and 181. Drainage, there is none. Flooding has been an issue for years in this area between 64 and 181, and as there is nowhere for the rainwater to drain, a commercial development with a retention pond will drain onto the Garbo's property or the adjacent property owners. With a 1-inch rain per hour, a small house or building can discharge 580 gallons of water onto the ground. With a commercial building along with parking areas, this creates another flooding issue adjacent to residents. Zoning, the community voted in 2006 to enact zoning in District 15 to protect homeowners from this type of detrimental invasion. If this rezoning is enacted, it will set a benchmark for all of Baldwin County, from Atmore to Rosington, Barnwell to Somerdale. Any residential development, even with zoning, can be victimized by commercial development next to our family homes. Baldwin County is growing and changing. Zoning was enacted to protect from adverse development. There are business areas. Daphne Industrial Park on 181 is one. Business in business areas attract more clients than in a residential area. You, as our county commissioners, are guardians of this county. And I thank you for your service. I thank you for allowing me to voice my concerns for Baldwin County, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I think it's tomorrow.
Pardon? Yes, you did very well. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next speaker we have signed up is Mrs. Kristen Keller.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So I live in the Austin Park subdivisions, which is right on the other side of 64 and 54. I drive through this area. Sorry, thank you. I drive through this area every day, and I take pride in my community. I have 2 young children that I'm raising in Bell Forest. We moved to Bell Forest because Bell Forest is a rural community. In fact, on the way here, I actually just I was sitting in the parking lot and I thought, let me Google what do people see when they look up Bell Forest? And it says Bell Forest is a small unincorporated community in Baldwin County. Bell Forest is located, and then it gives you the coordinates, and it gives you a little bit of information about Baldwin County and where it is in the map of Alabama. But I think what we're looking at there is the word unincorporated, and that's important to me. Our community is walkable, it's social. We have young families, established families, millennials, empty nesters, retirees. The addition of businesses jammed into the backyards of houses like these, and I say houses, these aren't houses. There's not just a structure. These are people's homes. People live there. And when we continue to just jam businesses into the back of that, it's hugely destructive and damaging to the nature of our community. I know at a previous hearing, Mr. Sudi stated that he did try to sell the home as residential, but I beg to differ. It was never a reasonable effort to sell the home as a residential community, as a resident. And I have pulled up the property appraisal links, and I have a copy for you. I didn't know I'd have access to this, or I would have put it there. But you can see the 4.7 acres alone without any structure was worth $153,500. That means a quarter of an acre of that property is only valued at $24,494 if you do it residential, and then you add the structure that he was selling. So a quarter of an acre, and the actual structure of the home is only valued at $152,000. He tried to sell that home to my husband and I in a letter that he wrote to Miss Joanne Keller, giving us an opportunity to buy that home. And I can't remember exactly. I had it here. Sorry. I think he was asking $278,000 for the home. I couldn't have gotten approved for that by a lender. It wasn't a reasonable effort to sell as residential. He also said he doesn't have any offers on it as residential, but in that same letter, which I do have a copy of here attached to the back of these for you guys, it does say that he received an offer from someone, it says Missy. I'm not sure who Missy is. I think she owns a local business, but she was looking to buy it residential. It says, as you know, Missy has looked at this house with her family. Missy made an offer that we have not yet accepted. We would very much like to see Artie or Chris, who is my husband, purchase the house and keep it in the family. Let us know quickly if you are interested. I was definitely interested, but not for a piece of property that you're asking a price that's over $100,000 over what it's actually valued at. That's per the property appraisal link here. So what I'm begging you. I mean, we're here. It's not that it's not a desirable place to live, as he stated. It's a beautiful place to live. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be here in our efforts to try to reject that. So thank you for your time. I know I went over the limit, but I'm making up for what they didn't go over. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Louisa Toller.
I'm Louisa Toller. I'm a resident of Bell Forest. I would like to emphasize that this is a stable residential neighborhood. Mrs. Keller, who spoke earlier, has lived there with her husband for 47 years. She's the property to the east of the subject property. To the west, that property has been occupied by the Sims family since the 1950s. There's residential, as you can see, there's zoned residential property to the south of 64, and there is a residential property to the north of this subject property as well. This is a stable residential area. It should remain as such. The land in the green is farmland. I would also like to emphasize that the property there in the red at the area of 64 and 181 has only one functioning business in the entire property. Yes, it has been rezoned, but it has not been developed. It was rezoned, you might say, as a speculative rezoning. Nothing has happened there yet. Therefore, who knows? There's just one business there now. So please respect the people who live in this area, who've been there for years. Mr. Sudi lived there over 30 years himself. And now he's left and proposes to make a drastic change for his neighbors who have been there since the 1950s. And in one case, and the other case, they've been there 47 years. Please respect this property and do not rezone it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the last speaker we have signed up to speak is J.R. Sudi.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Where do I point this one? It's a wonder it didn't hurt me. All right, I bought the property back in 84, and we moved there. It was a sleepy farming community. We spent many happy years there. But the world's changed, and so's Bell Forest. You got all these subdivisions that popped up, and the volume, speed, and noise from the traffic on Highway 64 This makes it an unpleasant place to live. So we moved. You're as familiar as I am with the growth in Bell Forest. It's just been a huge amount of subdivisions built. We placed our home on the market a year ago. We had no written offers on the home as a residence. We got several prospective buyers that are interested in the property for commercial use. We now have an offer contingent upon our property being rezoned to commercial. The current zoning, well, let's see now. Current zoning, well, you saw that. Selena showed you what the current zoning was. But here's a little history of the current zoning. In March of last year, Michael Foster applied for and received rezoning of his property from RSFE to B3. In March, Sidney Foster also applied for and received the same rezoning. In October, Daniel and Sue Shambo applied for and received the same zoning. And in last August, Jacqueline Puckett, who lives immediately to my west, applied for and received the same rezoning. In February, I applied for the same rezoning. It was denied. On the north side of County Road 64 in our block, there's 16 parcels. 7 are zoned commercial. 1 is being used as commercial. 1 is rental, and 1 is vacant. 6 are owner occupied, and one of those owners has written a letter in support of our rezoning. 10 of the 16 parcels are either not owner occupied or are already rezoned commercial. Almost all the property on the south side of Highway 64 from Austin Road to County Road 54 West, that's from Austin Road to County Road 54 West, almost all of that has been developed as commercial. There's been a new school built at Highway 64 and County Road 54 East. Commercial development has taken place on the north side of Highway 64 across from the school. With the large and continued growth of subdivision in the area, it's easy to see that Highway 64 is going to become a commercial and retail center. 2 additional convenience stores are planned for the Highway 64-181 intersection. A large commercial development is posed for the northeast corner of that intersection. And a liquor store and either a liquor store or bar is under construction less than 200 feet west of our property. Plans are now being prepared by the Highway Department to widen Highway 64 to 3 lanes. All of this widening will take place on the north side. Right-of-way acquisition should take a couple of years. In the future, Highway 64 is going to be even closer to the houses on the north side with higher speed and more noise. Daily traffic is projected to increase from 9,000 vehicles per day today to over 21,000 vehicles per day over the next 20 years. That's going to make our block even more unpleasant to live in. More and more subdivisions will come. It's obvious to even a casual observer, all of Highway 64 from 181 to Fish River will become commercial because the need is there for business and services to help all the people that live in these subdivisions. Now, even though others have had their property rezoned, and even though it's obvious to planners that our area of Bell Forest is trending commercial, and even though the Planning and Zoning staff recommended rezoning, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend denial of our rezoning request. Why? One Planning and Zoning Commissioner had his own opinion. I'll leave it there. I don't understand that comment, but that's what he said was his opinion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sudi. All right, Wayne, do we have anybody else signed up to speak?
No, sir, we do not.
Is there anyone in the audience who feels compelled to speak at this point? Please identify yourself, please, and address the chair.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. My name is Kyle Maddox. and I've actually got a pending offer on the city property. I'm from Baldwin County. I've been here my whole life. My wife and I have an offer on the property. We grew up in Baldwin County, and to talk a little bit more about what Mr. Sudi was talking about, the growing community in Belle Forest with all the new homes, new school, the road widening. I think there's an opportunity there to help serve the growing community. And if we're not growing, to serve them, there's where else we're going to support them. So we want to help serve the community and its small business. And the small businesses, we've got a couple businesses in the county right now. We're in the contracting business and a few other things, I look forward to staying here in Baldwin County with me and my wife and my 4 children that we're raising. Been here all my life and want to help continue to grow Baldwin County. So obviously I'm in support of the rezoning, but I appreciate the time and letting me speak. So,
all right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Can we speak again? Or not? Is that allowed?
Yes, if you would, step up. And please address the chair.
Yes, hi. So the liquor store that we're talking about that was mentioned, that's being put however many yards from the subject property. It is a liquor store, but there is a residential. You'll see that whole area. That's 5 acres of residential between that property and the property that's being put there.
Ma'am, how many houses are on that tract?
On the residential 5 acres that you're looking at?
Just right there.
Just right there, the property between the subject property and the red. How many houses are there? And are any
there's one house in between that.
Is it owner occupied?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
And the houses directly across the street from that are also owner occupied homes. The house adjacent to it on the east side and the very next, so all that area there is owner-occupied homes.
That was my question. Now, do you have anything else new to add to the discussion?
Well, I just wanted to say also that we talk about the area being residential. In Daphne, I'm talking only in Daphne, this is very close. When you cross over in Fish River, you run into Silver Hill and you run into Loxley area. But in Daphne, this is the last rural area in Daphne and Belle Forest. If you want to reside in Daphne and you want to reside in a rural community, Belle Forest is all we have left. And as this trickles down, we'll destroy that property. And we're just asking that you guys please take that into consideration.
All right, and the word destroy is your definition of destroy.
Of commercializing, I'm sorry.
There you go.
It's degrading.
Commissioner Ball.
So my question has been on my mind since y'all started talking.
Yes, sir.
Is the lady who sold out her property for a liquor store.
Right.
If I was living in that community, I would be in an uproar about that just as well.
Right.
What happened with y'all in the uproar with that?
Okay, so at the corner of 181 and 64 right now, there is, that's a package store there.
Okay, I'm talking about, I know that. It's relocating to this location.
Yes, sir.
Somebody allowed this to happen and was in favor of this. And there was no negative, like, oh, please don't do this. We don't want a liquor store in our backyard.
She lives in that residence. She owns the residence.
So you still have a liquor store in your community. Not your community, but their community.
No, sorry, it's my community. I live in Belle Forest as well.
You live in, I thought you said you live in Austin.
In Austin Park. It's still considered Belle Forest. Yes, sir.
I understand that, but you don't live in this tract of houses.
No,
okay.
I do not. But so where you see the RSFE, she lives, the lady that owns the package store lives there. And then that's on her side of the property towards 181. Right. So you still have the residential gap there.
So if that's permissible, if you own a tract of property and you have a house on it and you've got enough room to do...
She had that acre rezoned, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
You're right.
And wouldn't everybody else have that right too?
I'm not saying anyone else does not have that right. I'm saying that there's residential, that part there starts the residential area that goes all the way down towards Loxley.
And the people that live there might choose to do that, or their heirs might choose to do that. See, that's part of what we're dealing with.
Right, if you still lived on that property, if you were still living there, and that's the case from the Foster property that was mentioned.
All right, I'm failing to see what new information you've brought to the table by coming back up. Can you wrap it up in a minute?
I'm finished.
Okay, thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if that's all the speakers, we need to close the public hearing.
All right. Public hearing on this case is closed. Yes, ma'am.
I have a few comments. If this rezoning is approved, the applicant will be required to do a 25-foot buffer to the northwest and east because it abuts a residential lot. 10-foot landscaping on the front along 64. When they apply for a major land use to put a commercial use there, we will review everything. The drainage will go to highway. They will have to receive a turnout permit from the highway too. There has been discussions with us around 64 and 181 for some commercial development coming in. They hadn't submitted their application yet, but they have been talking to us. But other than that, that's all of the comments I have.
Okay, relative, and Joey, we may need your input on this. The 3-laning of 64 beyond 181, how much property, I mean, we're taking an existing 2-lane road and we're going to get property on both sides or just one side? What's the plan at this point?
Good morning.
Morning.
Currently, the property acquisition is being planned, and the plans show that the property acquisition is going to go on the north side of the road.
On the north side, not equal side, but on the north side.
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
All right. Thank you. Okay, any questions or comments from up here? The chair would entertain a motion relative to this case.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman. Nobody else is going to do it. I'm going to make a motion to accept your recommendation, Selena, and the staff's recommendation and approve this rezoning request.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second the motion.
All right, we've got a second on the motion to approve the rezoning. Any discussion or question?
I have a discussion point.
Oh, certainly. Go ahead.
Whenever a area is in the rural or unincorporated might be the better part to use of the county, and it has come under zoning, it's very difficult sometimes to look at what, this is the way I try to look at things. What would be the use of that property if there were no houses there? It's hard for me to get into this mindset because born and raised in Baldwin County, I grew up on Highway 59 in Summerdale. Can we live there anymore? No. House isn't even there anymore. Because just since, I think we had a statistic here the other day, since 1983, I think we had 78,000 people in Baldwin County, and I think we're busting about 230. So looking at the use of a piece of property, would I or anyone else moving want to come in here and purchase one of those lots that are in the, I call that yellow RSFE. Would you purchase that to build your house on? It's kind of hard to say, except for the area has grown so much. So I think that's what we really have to look at is, what is the best use of that property in that area? Is the best use of that property going to end up being as it is? And I think some of those lots were lots of record, because I don't think they actually even conform to the acreage. Am I correct?
That's correct.
From looking at that? I think RSFE requires a minimum of how many acres?
40,000 for
So
family.
one
yeah,
acre,
for
okay.
family.
But it has changed in that area. And I just, use is something that I consider. And whenever a use does change, some of those changes require buffers. And so if someone were to want to purchase this, the use has never changed from a residence, to the best of my knowledge. I think the Sudis lived there. No one's lived there since the Sudis. Is that correct? It's still available for someone to purchase, even if it gets rezoned as commercial. But if it did get rezoned to commercial, as long as that use hadn't changed, someone could still live there, but that person couldn't tear that house down, build another house, or add on to it or anything. It had to stay just like it would. It had to stay that way. So I think that this area in the future is going to see a lot more change. And I just wanted to point that out about use.
Okay, any other comments or questions from the dais?
Just like say, Bell Forest is not Bell Forest as it was even 5 years ago. I mean, it just is busting at the seams.
Yeah.
You go down 181, you go down 64. There's very little vacant land left. There used to be a thriving farming community, which it is no longer a thriving community. You got all these subdivisions that are coming in, and more still coming, to the area. So I mean, it's changing. The whole face of Bell Forest is changing tremendously. I mean, it's not the old Bell Forest we used to know. When we had the little Sim store there and everything else. Sure. It was. It's not that way anymore. It's.
I got one more thing to add, Mr.
All right.
Commissioner Grubers. On these types of cases, we always have to make a decision one way or the other. And you make one person angry and you make one person happy. That's just the way we conduct business up here. The very subdivision that this young lady lives in, that she calls Bell Forest home, was totally opposed of ever being built. And all subdivisions that's ever been approached to being built in Bell Forest always has oppositions, but yet they get built. Everybody has what we call property rights, just as Mr. Sudi does. And in this case, no matter how the vote turns out, we have a job to do, and we feel like we're doing the best job for the people of this county. And like I said, it's going to make one side upset and one side happy either way we do this. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that all these subdivisions, Bell Forest quit becoming Bell Forest when the first subdivision was built there.
That's correct.
So you can count back how many years that was, and I'm sure some of these people in here that are opposed to this rezoning was opposed to every subdivision that's ever been built in there. So that's all I've got to say, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and from the chair's perspective, I appreciate everyone conducting their points of view in a professional manner. We expect that. You expect us to do the same. I think it's very significant for us to recognize the number of properties that are not owner-occupied, because to me, that's the type of business. If I live somewhere else and own a house and rent it to somebody, am I not in some type of real estate business? So it's kind of commercial in several of the lots. So that's just a point that kind of sticks in my mind. And as Mr. Gruber pointed out about Bell Forest changing, this whole county's changed. And it's continuing to change. And our job up here is to be involved and listen to the citizens, but also listen to our staff. And their job is to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's, and being able to require buffer zones and the like, to me, enables different types of properties to coexist. And so with that said, I think we need to
There's been a motion and a
We got a
second,
motion
so-
and a second. Call for the vote. All in favor of approving this as the Sudi case with regard to the rezoning, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Dice. What do we have next, sir?
Mr. Chairman, next is item DR2. This is case number Z-21004, Baldwin Wholesale Florist Incorporated. This is the rezoning also, Mr. Chairman. And we have Ms. Selena Boykin from the staff.
All right, Boykin.
This is a request to rezone almost 40 acres from RSF1 single family to RSF4, which is also single family, to allow for development of a subdivision on the subject property. The property is located just south of Highway 90 in Planning District 15. You can see the subject property is surrounded by residential and also rural agriculture. The applicant is planning to put a 130-lot subdivision on the subject property, the smallest lot being around 10,000 square feet. And the 10,000 square feet actually falls under the RSF3, but the lot widths are 80 feet. The lot widths are 60 feet, so that's required under the RSF4 for 60 feet. If he went with RSF3, he would have to make the lots 80 foot wide. So that is why he is asking for RSF4. And as you can see, here's a plat of the proposed subdivision. This one's a little bit different than what was in my staff report. This is the newest one that shows they have quite a bit of common area to the east and some to the north and south of the subject property. Staff has recommended approval, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval at their February meeting.
All right, do we need to open the public hearing?
Yes, sir, we do.
All right, this is opening the public hearing for case Z-21004, Baldwin Wholesale Florist, Inc., property rezoning. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Mr. Chairman, we have one person signed up to speak, Trey Jenwright.
All right, Mr. Jenwright. And as you know, address the chair, please.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Commissioners, Trey Jenwright, J Consulting, how are y'all this morning?
Very good.
I wanted to answer any questions that you may have, but also wanted to talk about the two maps she just showed you. The interesting thing about this piece of property is actually inside the ETJ of Loxley. And Loxley has a requirement for subdivisions in their area where the minimum lot width of 75 feet, minimum lot size of 9,500 square feet, but a max density of 2 units an acre. So that puts us in a position where we're governed by the county and governed by Loxley. And so the layout that you had seen earlier that she referenced, the 130 lots, that would be complying with your straight R4 zoning. This development does not. It actually has to comply with Loxley zoning, which is a max of 2 units an acre, which gives me a max number of units on this piece of property of 79 lots. So the layout you're seeing before you today is actually the layout that we will be presenting to the county. Assuming you're receiving your approval, we're presenting for development. This layout has almost 30% open space in there. So what we're doing is we're looking for the rezoning so that we can get the lot width down to allow us to cluster this development and provide the additional open space. And so I wanted to provide that clarification and then also have an opportunity to answer any questions that you may have.
Do you still have to go through Loxley to get something?
Yes, sir, we will.
That's just for subdivision type.
Right.
That's the reason, it's in the county, so the zoning, that's what you're here for, not subdivision.
No, but I want to explain to you that
I understand.
Where it's headed.
Where it's headed, that, we won't ever be able to develop 130 lots on this piece of property because Loxley has another governance in there as well.
I get it.
That's what I want all that on. I'm going to use this for future reference. So yeah, just keep on talking.
Right. That's right. We do listen. I mean, we really do. Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, that's all I had to say.
All right. Any questions or comments from here?
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Trey.
you.
Mr. Chairman, we have no other speakers signed up.
All right. We'll close the hearing on this case. Do we have any other comments or questions from the dais?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve case Z 21004, Baldwin Wholesale Floors, Inc., property rezoning.
All right.
Second that.
We've got a motion and a second on case Z 21004. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Believe we've got unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the last rezoning case is item DR3. This is case number Z-21009, Cotton Creek RV and Boat Storage Property Rezoning. And again, Mrs. Boykin from the Planning Department.
This is a request to rezone 0.7 acres from RSF1 single family to B4 major commercial to allow for a air and office and a shop, and then also an office for the boat and RV storage that's adjacent to the subject property. The property is located on Wasco Road in Planning District 30. As you can see, the subject property, there's B4 to the west and south, which is part of the current boat and RV storage. To the north is RSF1, and then to the east is Orange Beach, the city of Orange Beach. Staff has recommended approval of this rezoning request, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval at their February meeting.
All right. We'll open the public hearing on case Z 21009, Cotton Creek RV and Boat Storage Property Rezoning.
Mr. Chairman, we have no one signed up to speak. No, sir.
One signed up. Anybody compelled in the audience to make comments? Hearing none, entertain a motion relative to this case. Got to close it. Boom. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve case number Z 21009, Cotton Creek RV and Boat Storage Property Rezoning.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second on Z 21009. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir. Next case.
Mr. Chairman, the next item are the finance reports, and the first one is EA1, payment of the bills.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we pay bills totaling $10,769,976.99, with the exception of those vendors or commissioners requested to be pulled, which are going to be number 132 for Commissioner Ball and number 138 for Commissioner Davis. Of this amount, $6,613,915.68 was paid to the Baldwin County Board of Education, and $414,264.49 was paid to the Gulf Shores Board of Education for their portion of the county's sales and use tax.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the bills with the exception of item 132 and 138 duly noted. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we pay item number 132.
All right. Got a motion to pay item number 132. Do I hear a second?
Well, I was looking at the thing, 132. Yours is number 131 on the list.
Oh.
If you'll go back and look on the thing, we need to make that correction. 131 is actually yours, Commissioner Ball.
I've looked at this thing 15 times today. I can't. Excuse me. Correction for the record, 131 for James Ball.
Okay, then I'll make a motion we pay item number 131.
Yep, and I'll second the motion.
We've got a motion and a second to pay item number 131. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Let the record reflect that I abstained from that vote.
Very good.
I make a motion that we pay item number 138.
And I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to pay item number 138. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that I declined to vote on that item.
Mr. Chairman, next item is EA2. This is notification of interim payments approved by the clerk treasurer under county policy, and the staff recommendation is to make the attached interim payments made by the clerk treasurer totaling $2,961,605.60 and make this part of the record.
Next.
Inmate And Mr. Chairman, the next items are going to be discussion items. The discussion item for FL1 was brought forward as an addendum. So if you go to your addendum items, this is regarding the debris pickup. And give me 1 second to get to that one. I'll read the recommendation to you. And this is regarding Hurricane Sally. This is HA1, and the staff recommendation is to authorize the Baldwin County Solid Waste Department to pick up Hurricane Sally storm debris along state roads with an unincorporated Baldwin County per a punch list provided by Crowder Golf by the Baldwin County Solid Waste Department. This is pursuant to our discussion at the work session with Terry Graham.
I make a motion we approve HA1.
And I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve HA1. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
And Mr. Chairman, the next item discussion item was FQ1 regarding the Coronavirus Response Relief Act. This morning, some further guidance came out. The personnel director has asked that we pull this from the agenda and bring this back at another meeting.
All right. Any question or comments?
No.
All right, good. We'll look forward to hearing the update on that.
Commissioner, I think next we have commissioner requests.
Do we do anything with the FR1?
I'm sorry?
The FR1?
I'm sorry, FR1 was a discussion item as well. That's regarding Environmental Advisory Board. That was a discussion item as well.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So
Not ready for that?
right, and Mrs. Campbell will bring back a list of names once we get those lists, and I think she's going to be meeting with you and
Updated information.
getting your
Very
input from you. Right.
All right, Skip, do you have any comments?
No comments. No, I have nothing to bring forward, but I just want to thank, you ready for the comments and everything?
Yes.
Okay, closing comments?
Well, I guess we got to go through.
No, that's
No, we still
request.
got,
We got administrative
these are the
report.
requests.
Okay, no.
Yeah, These are the
I don't have anything to bring.
requests.
No request.
No request. All right, let's go to addenda.
Mr. Chairman, we just handled the addendum a minute ago. Those are all taken care of.
All right. So we've got the administrative report next.
Just, Mr. Chairman, I just want to make one quick personal comment. I just want to thank you all for recognizing Ivan Jones. Growing up in Foley, he was very special to all of us. And I just want, it brings to mind one quote by the great UCLA basketball coach John Wooden once said that a good coach can change a game, a great coach can change a life. I think Coach Jones absolutely changed lives, and as you can see from all the outpouring of support. So I just want to thank you all for that. Thank you.
Certainly. I think that's a good quote, well stated, and all of us can look back and see the teachers, the family, the coaches, and people that influenced our lives. And I'm going through a reflective time right now in my family, and it makes you proud to be an American, makes you proud to be an Alabamian, and it makes you proud to be from Baldwin County. It really does. All right. What about our county attorney's report, Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not have a...
So we don't need to go into executive session?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, wow.
I think we're good.
All right.
Unless you want me to think of something.
No.
No, we're not going to dream up anything at this point. Public comments. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to express a point of view? Hearing none, what about our press questions? Anybody with the press? I don't see any. Commission comments. Skip, got any?
Just want to say this morning, we had several presentations, one from the Sheriff's Department, on what they've done this year, and it's remarkable, to see what they had to do with COVID, hurricanes, and just about everything, the influx of the people coming into this county, is more and more, is putting more stress on that department, but yet, the sheriff is still able to manage it and do a fantastic job with it, and I think he's to be commended for that. I also want to thank our staff for all they do, and just, y'all be safe.
Very good. Bill Joe.
Don't have a lot to say today. I just want to thank everybody again, and it was an honor to be able to honor the family and of Coach Jones and to recognize his legacy. It will live on forever in the lives of those who knew him and the lives that he has touched to be for many more generations to come, because the stories will never stop as long as we're still alive to tell them. And also, it was great to hear the report from the sheriff's office, and I feel like we're making a lot of progress with the tough year that we had last year. We all had a tough year nationwide, but we really got hit hard right here with the natural disasters that hit us as well. So we're making progress with our debris cleanup, and I have people ask me, well, when are they going to straighten up all them signs that's crooked on the road? And I said, we're getting to that. Got to get the debris out of the road off the right of way first, and that's happening fast. So thank you.
Very good. Jeff, how about you?
After all that, I just don't have a whole lot to say. It's I want to thank the staff, especially today in cases like we have today, point out planning and zoning staff with Matthew and Selena. Appreciate all y'all do to get all that up for us, and it makes our job a lot easier when we have all this nice stuff to look at and be able to make these decisions on. And you know, like I said, we make some happy, some not so happy. It was a great day today. We did a lot of business today. Seeing the sheriff's report is promising. I think yesterday, as I was saying, marked our anniversary from the pandemic, and I think it's been handled with grace with this staff. Everybody involved in this room, as well as outside of this room, we've done remarkably well to get through this. Is where we're at now. So we couldn't have done that without, you know, leaders like Sherry Lee and Zach and everybody with Wayne, whoever's involved in when we first started this stuff, and everybody's brains working together to find the best way possible to make it through such trying times. So here we are a year later, and I think we've done really well with that, and I'm proud to sit up here and be a part of, like you said, we're a small part of what really happens up here. So thank y'all for allowing us to do what we do.
Thank you, Jeb. Being fourth makes it tough because they all say exactly what I'm thinking. But I just want to reiterate that in order for us to prosper as a county, it takes everyone in this room and a whole lot of folks that are not in here right now to make it work. And I am humbled and honored to be a part of a team that gets in the weeds, figures out what our options are, and addresses problems and make things better. Because as we're getting bigger, we do need to get better at everything we do. And I know you're tired of hearing that, but you're going to keep hearing it as long as I'm doing anything to be a part of Baldwin County, because this is the place to be. And we're attracting folks. We need to listen to what they bring to the table, but we need to get them to listen to what we have here, and we want to be able to enhance it. So thank every one of you, the staff, in getting things done, and particularly Mr. Peacock, because his program and his activities permeate between everybody in here. And while he's not here right now, let's all give him an attaboy when we get a chance, because it is amazing that you can call any of you darn near any time and get a problem addressed or identified and then move forward. So thanks again for letting us be a little part of it, and let's keep on keeping on. I think
Mr.
we'll
Chair,
stand. Yes, ma'am.
Real quick,
Okay.
Before you say your last words, I forgot about something. I'm sitting here looking at my water bottle, and it says, "Don't be trashy," and it is it's a hugger from or koozie, whatever you want to call them, from a campaign that the Mobile NEP had about, you know, don't pollute the waterways. But we've got a campaign that we've initiated that's going to be part of the PALS, which is, I think, if I don't have this acronym correct, I think it's People Against the Littered Society, and Baldwin County is going to be participating with that this year pretty soon. And so I just want to encourage all of y'all, when this says don't be trashy, please don't throw out your trash on the side of our roadways. I think back when I was a little girl, there was a campaign about not littering, and I think there was a Native American standing on the side of the road with the tear coming down his cheek. For those of you old enough to remember that commercial, that's how I feel inside whenever I see garbage strewn all along the side of our beautiful county. So hopefully with this litter campaign that's coming up, you'll be able to get some special, watch our website and our Facebook page and stuff like that. Please help us. If you can't do anything but just what's in front of your own house, even if you live in a subdivision, if you could go out to the rural areas of the county. I live in the rural area of the county, and it's so hard it seems like people just pull up to the stop sign on a Friday night and throw out their whole, I I don't know how many beer cans come in a box, but it seemed like they drink them going down the road. I don't know where they drink them. I shouldn't say that. But they throw them out at the stop sign, or it's amazing. I saw a whole 2 or 3 bags of garbage just strewn on Highway 59 this morning, and I reported that so we could hopefully get somebody out there to pick it up. But we don't have the litter crews, and that sounds a little weird, litter crews, but the people who go out and pick up the litter right now due to the COVID situation. So if each citizen could help out, kind of like if you can't adopt a mile, adopt 100 feet. But you'll be able to take this litter and get these bags, and it won't cost you anything to dispose of it. I'm sorry I took up a little bit more time, but it's so important. We got so much trash thrown out about Baldwin County, and we just need help getting it up. Thank y'all.
Last item. I think it's very significant, not just now, but going forward and on into the future. Remember, I mentioned to each of you to talk to your employees about filling out that survey with regard to connectivity and internet needs. I remind you of that. I think it's very significant that we need to fill it out, but we also then need to ask our citizens to fill it out. So be on the lookout. Answer the questions, turn them in, because the only way we're going to get people in Washington and Montgomery to help us with this is for them to hear from us, and that's what we're going to do. So thank you again for all you do and how you do it, and unless we have something else, Wayne, we're going to call this one adjourned, all right?
I guess you can do it like that.
Boom. Thank you.
You the chair.